Today, 2 stories about cars and 2 stories about dirt. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where there's also a coming up at the end, but we don't really count that as a story.
It's more like a quick point, but before we started calling them quick points.
There's also an outro that sometimes relates to the last story, but sometimes it just relates to the intro.
And there's also an intro, which is now done. They built a hill in London today. It's a good hill. A strong hill. Dare I say it, English hill. Sturdy of stroke and measure. Upright, reliable, steady as Big Ben, and decidedly down to earth. It also looks like they ripped it straight from Super Mario 64. Seriously, that's a copyright-safe rip of Bob-omb Battlefield right there. You don't see it? How about now? The hill was constructed by Dutch architecture firm Merverdorf to give a new perspective on the future, and the message that I'm getting is, for £3 million, you can have a hill that's as real as the one in the video game. Seriously, look at the interior wireframe. Probably uses as many polygons, too. It currently costs the public £6.50 to walk up the hill, which only sounds like a terrible gouge until you realize that a copy of Super Mario 64 can cost anywhere between $20 to $1.56 million US. Though, when you get to the end of the walk, you don't get to fight King Bob-omb or even pet a chain chomp. No, you get trees. I bet you could see most of those trees from the ground, too, while spending that dosh to quaff an iron brew and nosh on a twirly-curly or whatever other nonsense I can be bothered to pretend I don't understand. Plans are already afoot to race to the top using only half an A-press.
James Bond is coming to Rocket League. Or at least his autonomous car is. Do we know if there are canonically drivers in Rocket League? Do we care? The classic 1963 Aston Martin DB5, first seen in Goldfinger and inexorably linked with Bond ever since, does not have all of Q's usual bells and whistles like machine guns, revolving license plates, ejector seat, oil slicks, or a bulletproof windscreen, but, it does have a rocket, like all of the other cars in the game. Oh, it does come with special Aston Martin DB5 wheels that, presumably at the behest of Aston Martin, can only be equipped to the DB5. According to developer Psyonix, more of James Bond's garage will be declassified later this year, which is either going to go one of two ways. The Lotus Esprit, and then a bunch of not nearly as iconic cars that make you go, oh right, BMW had the license for a while. Or, fingers crossed, Moon Buggy, Submersible Crocodile, Bobsled. If you must go with actual cars, you get the AMC Hornet, and every time you fly it through the air, it plays that fucking slide whistle from the Astro Spiral Jump or Riot.
In other automobile licensing news, Hot Wheels Unleashed wants you to get hyped to drive digital cars based on shit your parents owned when they were kids. Like, do you currently play with Hot Wheels but also remember Night Industries 2000? Then you are clearly the demographic for this new Nintendo Switch racer. Oh, Beej, you say. That's not fair. Lots of today's kids love Hot Wheels brand die-cast metal racers. I agree, so let's take the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Party Wagon as an example. The Turtles aren't just an 80s staple of entertainment, it's been remade multiple times, so it's perfect to appeal to the youth of today. And look at that, the Party Wagon from the 2012 TV series is in the game. Oh, wait, that's weird. That's not the 2012 Party Wagon. No, it's the 1987 Party Wagon from the superior 80s cartoon. So again, I put to you, who is this for? Us! It's for us! It's always been for us! Fuck the grandparents, clearly we are the greatest generation! Now shut up and watch the Back to the Future trilogy until you love it as deeply as I.
The Activision Blizzard fiasco has basically taken over the majority of gaming discourse during the past week, and rightly so. So here's an update on what has developed since our coverage last episode. Activision Blizzard employees held a formal walkout yesterday to call on leadership to, quote, improve conditions for employees at the company, especially women, and in particular women of color and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups, as well as a list of specific demands they want addressed. No word from ActiBliz on any of those, but they did offer employees paid time off to participate, which is just about the least they could do. Because Activision's initial response to the accusations, lashing out at the Department of Fair Employment and Housing as unaccountable bureaucrats, could be charitably described as tone-deaf. And it was described that way by Activision's own CEO, Bobby Kotick. In a statement from Kotick, who made over $150 million in 2020, he said, quote, our initial responses to the issues we faced together and to your concerns were quite frankly tone-deaf, implying he expects us to believe that he, the CEO, did not sign off on or perhaps even explicitly dictate the tone in a public response to a lawsuit from a state government. One of the least important parts of Kotick's statement is where he says, quote, we have heard the input from employee and player communities that some of our in-game content is inappropriate. We are removing that content. Without specifying, we have to assume Kotick is referring to NPCs in the World of Warcraft, named after former lead designer Alex Afrasiabi, who, as we mentioned last week, was called out explicitly in the lawsuit as a well-known office sex pest, and who quietly left the company last year for reasons unknown. Except now, a spokesperson for Activision Blizzard has told Kotaku that when the whole Cosby Suite incident was brought to their attention in 2020, they had already concluded a further different investigation into Afrasiabi's conduct and terminated him as a result. It's very handy that we only find out about that now, when it benefits Activision to appear as though they're taking this all very seriously. But if he was fired for misconduct in 2020, why didn't anyone think to rename the multiple NPCs that bear his name then? Why only now? And yet, the most worrying part of Kotick's statement is where he lays out some of their plans going forward. He says, quote, I have asked the law firm WilmerHale to conduct a review of our policies and procedures to ensure we have and maintain best practices to promote a respectful and inclusive workplace, and continued, and I'm paraphrasing, we encourage anyone with experience you believe violates our policies or in any way made you uncomfortable to reach out to the team at WilmerHale. I am no lawyer, but if any Blizzard employee are watching this, my wholly unsolicited advice is don't talk to WilmerHale. Even the most cursory look at their website tells you everything you need to know about this company. They are a firm that companies hire to make problems go away, not to fix entrenched issues like this. They offer solutions for when you're being investigated by the government with a, quote, relentless devotion to helping clients achieve their business and reputational goals. They also offer white-collar defense services that promise to help, quote, prominent corporations, executives, public officials, and individuals respond to government enforcement actions, address questions of compliance, mitigate future risk and reputational damage, and aggressively litigate against allegations of wrongdoing. But this is about potential discrimination and harassment. Surely they do that too. Yeah, they do, for the benefit of their client, the company. Quote, while we aim to help clients avoid litigation, our lawyers are also equipped to defend all types of matters involving allegations of discrimination and discriminatory harassment. This is not about you being heard. It's about making sure they can stop you being a problem. Oh, and let's not gloss over their offering of, quote, advising on union awareness and avoidance. Activision is going to do whatever they can to make this go away, and that does not mean fix. There have been blog posts and tweets from Blizzard teams and employees and managers expressing how shocked they are and apologizing for what their coworkers experienced. But those are words. And no matter what Bobby Kay says in his big, "well, we're so sorry" letter, don't think for a second Activision isn't going to fight that lawsuit tooth and nail. The statement's footnote, that doesn't seem to appear on any reporter's article, essentially boils down to, quote, by the way, we legally don't promise to do or change anything. BJ, I mean, it's still bad, but it's less shocking this week, surely.
Sorry, no, what? Hi, yeah, sorry, I fell asleep for a second.
Was the story too long?
No. Oh, no. Bobby's letter was too predictable. Knocked me right the fuck out.
Oh, yeah. No, fair. Yeah.
Coming up, Dell will not be permitted to sell high-end Alienware configs in California due to a regulation restricting power-guzzling PCs. In other news, Dell has announced a new aftermarket monitor stand called the RTX 3090 Wink Wink.
So before we get to talking about anything like funny,
Right.
just
How about some tragic?
yeah, well, no, just real quick, I just wanted to address something that I said last week, because there was one or two comments in the YouTube about it, and I got a very polite email about it as well, about just a specific choice of wording I made in the Activision story.
All right.
Last week, where, because the lawsuit alleges that Activision is like bad for its female employees, and particularly bad if those employees are also women of color.
Right.
And so I was trying to a little look behind the curtain when we're writing stuff like this, especially when we're writing stories about stuff that's like not funny.
Yeah.
I try to occasionally use like just odd words of phrase so that like at least it sounds entertaining to listen to,
Right.
without making light of the story.
Correct.
Anyway, I chose a wording that I wish I hadn't, that made it sound like women of color were a separate group than women,
Right.
which is like not, it's that's a shitty implication, and
Yeah.
I didn't mean to word it like that. So I just wanted to mention that here also, that I was trying to say that women of color had it even worse than white women at Blizzard, but it made it sound like they were a wholly separate party, which was not the intent.
A mea culpa here.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, that was not my intention.
Yeah, and to be fair, like that email that I got was like, I don't think you meant it like this. But, and you know, and the same thing with the YouTube comment. It was like, I think that you maybe didn't see how that could be interpreted, and you're right, I didn't.
Yeah.
So there we go.
God, we have good fans.
It's
Great fans.
Another sort of small thing was that I saw I think they were a project lead or something, someone from like a head of a team at Blizzard, I think they were involved in WoW or something, were like, it's like heartbreaking to see, these things that my peers and coworkers have experienced, but refusing to acknowledge the like at the hands of other peers and coworkers.
Yeah.
Right? They're very compartmentalizing this. It's like, boy, sucks that happened to you sucks that happened to a Blizzard employee because of another Blizzard employee, Brian. I'm just pulling that name out of my ass.
Yeah.
That's not a actual Brian. Hey.
Jugemu.
What's the full name again?
Jugemu. I could quote the whole thing from my phone, but I could get Siri to read it out maybe.
Don't worry about it. Hey, in totally unrelated and much more like comical news, apparently EB Games is going away.
What, they're shutting them all down?
Nope.
They're renaming it back to Electronics Boutique?
Nope. Close. They're rebranding them all as GameStops.
Who cares?
I don't know.
Why?
Why, right? EB Games in Canada, it used to be the Electronics Boutique, and then it was rebranded as EB Games because Electronics Boutique didn't sound like a place that would sell an Xbox.
Yeah.
And but it's basically just GameStop. GameStop owns the whole. It's like how we have Kraft Dinner, right?
Yes.
But now they're like, you know what? We're going to name them all GameStop. I'm like, why? That's so... You're going to have to change all the branding.
So
it's going to be so expensive. No one can't... I would say that makes it, like, worse.
I just wonder if... Because here's what doesn't make sense to me. GameStop not doing so well.
No.
Stonks notwithstanding. But GameStop not doing so well.
Stonks, though, yeah.
Right, stonks. And so I have to think to myself, it's like... Is this just somebody's, like, circling the toilet bowl pet project where they're like, you know what would save the company is if we renamed the remainder of the stores in Canada, that hotbed of economic activity, You know,
Hey.
where it's 37 million people versus 370 million. Like, it's like, I don't get why you feel you need to rename the 24 stores that are left calling this, spending the money to buy new fucking signage, unless it's because you're going to ship all the signage from all the stores you shut down in the States up to Canada. And I don't recommend you do that because shipping to Canada fucking sucks.
We've got so many elk, though.
It's true, yeah.
They just don't play video games.
We should just rename it to Elk Boutique. That's what it should have always stood for.
Elk Bison Games. What the hell? Yeah, so I don't know. Like I bet it is somewhere internal. They're like, but GameStop is getting all the like online buzz because of the stocks and everything. But people in Canada, they don't know that it's the same. Oh, we gotta get in on the memes.
Right.
That's my fear.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past them.
It's fair.
Wow, it's so frustrating. I just got tinnitus. How did that happen?